and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Karen Bowness. I'm the Marketing Manager here at LiveHire, and today I'll also be the webinar moderator. We're here at this client-only event to launch our wonderful new offering, the Candidate Care Hub, that we've been working on with our friends at Career Money Life, and I'll introduce you a bit more on that shortly. I'll just kick off with a quick acknowledgement of country, and then we'll get going. We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today around Australia and the elders past and present. We acknowledge the ongoing connection that Aboriginal people have to this land and recognise Aboriginal people as the original custodians of this land. So as I mentioned, we have the lovely Sandy Hutchison here from Career Money Life. Hi, Sandy.
Karen, how are you? Lovely to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Great to have you. And then we also have our birthday boy, Andy Whitehead. I understand it's Andy's birthday today. Woo-hoo.
Celebrating.
Andy's
well today, big day.
Andy's our Senior Business Development Director, and I'm sure most of you know him. And of course, me, I'll be the webinar moderator. So before we kick off, just a quick bit of housekeeping that I wanted to cover off with you. Firstly, as usual with our webinars, we'll share a copy of the video recording from today with you within the next 24 hours. We'll also present you with a survey at the end to get any feedback you have on today's session, ideas for future topics regarding LiveHire product, our LiveHire product. And also, if you'd like more information about the Candidate Care Hub, will be a question there. Just simply tick that box and I'll organise for someone to contact you with information about that. Now, just to make it a bit of fun today, since we've got a nice intimate client event, we've got some LiveHire t-shirts to give away. I'll explain to you how you can win one of those shortly. Our next event will be on the 21st of September, and we have one of our popular speakers, Dan Groundwater from WMD Law, who's an employment law expert, talking to us about the Employer's Guide to Employment Contracts and staying compliant. So keep an eye on your inbox for invitations to that event. Now, just to finish up, I wanted to explain how to ask us questions. If you could process your questions through the Q&A option at the bottom here. Hopefully your screen looks a little bit like this with a black bar at the bottom. Just click on the Q&A option, and then that's how we'll manage the questions. It just makes it a little bit easier than using the chat for me. Now, you'll notice I've been showing you these little crown things, and we're going to play a bit of Where's Wally today to win t-shirts. So you'll notice throughout some of the slides, will be a crown on it. All you need to do is go into the Q&A box and just tell me that you've found the crown and where it was, and I'll share a link with you to fill out a form to give us your size and shipping details. So that should be fun. So the agenda for today looks a little bit like this. We've finished with our housekeeping. I'm going to pass over to Andy, our birthday boy, shortly, who's going to just go into a bit of an overview of the Candidate Care Hub, and then Sandy's going to give us a demonstration after that. So hopefully you've seen a little our crown back there. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm also, just to kick things off, going to do a poll, if I can find it. There it is. Just to ask you if you're currently measuring candidate experience. So Andy, feel free to start sharing while we get those polls in. Okay, feel free to get started, Andy.
Thank you, Karen. Why are we here today? Well, LiveHire is built around this idea of candidate care and bringing the human element back to the recruitment process. We've built the platform in a way that ensures that recruiters can be far more productive, but that also opens up the opportunity for people to provide that human experience back into the recruitment process. Because we know that technology has, over the last 10 years or so, kind of caused recruitment to become more of a kind of process as opposed to a system of engagement where you can get to know somebody. Now, why that's important is, and we've been talking about this for years, but some data around that is true, right? 60% of job seekers who have a bad experience share that feedback on socials with their friends and family. And friends and family being one of the best sources of referrals, that's a really terrible thing to be happening. We know that in other systems, certainly not the case in LiveHire, 43% of candidates spend more than 30 minutes on their application. So again, they're putting a lot of time and effort and care into their application. So it's only fair that we provide that care back to them in the way that we receive that application, process it, and treat them through the recruitment process beyond. I think this one is very damning, particularly for organisations that are business to consumer. So retail, hospitality businesses, 86% of candidates would likely not remain a customer with a company after having had a bad experience. And one of my former colleagues used to tell this story around his wife actually changing their energy provider because of the experience she had when she applied for a role with that company. And so it does happen, right? We take conscious decisions to change the relationship we have with organisations if we don't have a great experience through the process. And really importantly within LiveHire, our whole concept is around anyone that applies for you is a potential source of talent in the future, whether they're right for the role today or as they go on and upskill and change roles or careers. They are someone you want to keep engaged and happy. And we know that if you don't let them know of the outcome of their application, 80% of those candidates would not reapply to a company that doesn't notify them. So we want to make sure you are always closing the loop and keeping them engaged beyond that single point of that single job application. Now, part of that keeping them engaged, we've got a bunch of research looking into things like sending out bulk messages and stories around what's going on. We know that there's quite high opt-out rates of engagement when you send things that aren't relevant to people. We also know that your database is only as good as the people within it and the engagement and skills and capabilities they have. And so we wanted to look for ways to further help the people in your talent community upskill, reskill, put their best foot forward in the applications they're doing with you. So that the next time you tap someone on the shoulder when they're a suggested match or they come across a job in a public forum and apply for it, you're getting better quality talent into your pipeline as well. So part of that was partnering with Sandy Hutchin, who's happily joined us today. And Sandy and I started this conversation over a coffee, just talking about that concept of providing that better relationship and a little bit more value to the candidates that don't quite make it through the pipeline. Now that's evolved somewhat, but basically, when we think about the LiveHire experience, we still enable the top line, of course, the traditional recruitment. So you'll still be doing the occasional job posting, sourcing, screening, interview, hire. But where we really want to focus is all those people that are in that talent community. So that one on the left here, we want you to be able to source from that more often. And one of the ways to do that is to ensure that the people in your talent community are engaged, are capable, have the skills and capabilities, and can put their best foot forward in the applications they put in for the roles that you've got available. And so what we've developed in partnership with Sandy is the Candidate Care Solution, the LiveHire Candidate Care Solution in partnership with Career Money Life. We want you to be able to support candidates through the recruitment process and provide a bit more hand-holding throughout. We want you to be able to soften the no for those ones that don't quite get the job. So give them a little bit of extra to keep them engaged. And like I said, if they don't hear anything, 80% won't reapply. How much more likely are people to reapply if you've given them a great experience when you've handed them that, sorry, you weren't quite right at this round. There's some benefits for internal employees around career development and thinking around other pathways outside of the traditional one. We've got some data to say that the DE&I targets can be improved through providing that support to those at-risk cohorts that need that additional support. And then, of course, another benefit being able to have, and this goes back to the question that Karen put up, being able to track and benchmark the recruitment process experience. So with that, I might start to hand over to Sandy to do a bit more talking. Sandy, I guess the first question for you, do you want to talk to this slide and how have you thought about the design of the Candidate Care Solution as it talks to the different cohorts that might go through that?
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Yeah, I guess if we think about our own experience working in HR and talent, and just how much things have evolved and changed, even in the last 18 months or 2 years. But for job seekers, it is just so complicated because, people don't look for a job every week or every month. They do it a few times in their life, and the experience that they have from the last time is what they think it's going to be like this time. And as we know, the tech and the processes and the systems have really taken over. So at the end, in the core of it, though, there is this person who's vulnerable, who's looking for work, who's not sure about what's next for them. And so candidate care is really a way of kind of wrapping some care and some love around those people, and helping demystify and providing a safe space with accurate information and current information about all the elements of finding a job, whether it's preparing for an interview, or what their resume should include, or how to work through their LinkedIn profile, or even going back more to who am I, and how do I add value, and what do I want to do. And we work in the space of career transition, and we're able to provide that support to people who are going through career transition, but not everyone gets that. And so candidate care really came out of a desire to say, how do we make what we've created available to more people and more job seekers? And particularly, we've worked with that audience of migrant women, and the added complexity of not understanding just some of the cultural practices in terms of recruitment, or the way we call things. Like, for instance, job seeker was a term many of them said they hadn't heard before, so didn't know to look under that. Interviewing in a second language is very daunting for people. So again, if you're really trying to encourage those groups to be applying for you to your organizations, it's really important to think about, well, what else can we do to give them a more level playing field, and give them a helping hand to be the best candidates they could be, because often their capabilities are fantastic, but it's the interview job search process that really gets unstuck, and it's a loss for everyone. So that's kind of our why in terms of candidate care. And from an organizational point of view, it's also about getting feedback and data on the experience, which is difficult to do.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I've just switched slides here because I think there's a question for you on this one as well. Is you mentioned there getting data and insights in terms of tracking, and that's obviously something that's really important for an organisation. What, I guess, in the early people going through this organisation side, what are some of the benefits you're seeing them receive from the offering?
Yeah, well, in terms of the individuals, it's really being able to get access to, as I said, the content, the tools, the resources, but also access to live sessions with experienced career coaches that can help them prepare, help build their confidence, help them create the resume they need, be ready to show up in an interview with a clear understanding of their value proposition, and being able to offer, responses to, STAR structured behavioral event interview questions and all that stuff, which just makes people feel much more confident rather than, rocking up and not knowing any of those frameworks and tools. From the organizational point of view, it is really about many things. It's being able to offer something different to either your whole candidate pool, right from application, and really standing out and differentiating your brand, as well as I mentioned in terms of the diversity space, being able to offer something to that unique audience. The silver medalists, so the people that you think, gosh, if I had two of these roles, I'd hire you both, but I've got to pick one. How do I keep that person in my talent pool? How do I keep them happy? And so being able to offer them some support, something meaningful, and something that's giving back to them, helping them be a better candidate. So next time you have a role, they are the gold medalist, not the silver medalist. So that, and it obviously that's a huge part of your methodology of having people keep that talent pool warm, because it's being able to give them something back that's really adding value to them as an individual, and that goes a long way to building that respect and trust. So even though it's a no now, they feel like you've actually cared about them, you've thought about something that would be valuable for them, and you've enabled that for them. And people remember that as they remember when it doesn't happen. So it can work both ways, where they then reapply with you, but also tell their friends what a great experience they had, even though they didn't get the job. And ideally that's what you want.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I just came away from a meeting with a CEO. He was talking about the care he provided in the past when he had the capacity to do it, to all those silver medalists, and to your point, providing that kind of hand-holding experience of, I can't hire you now, but I really want you in the future. So how do I keep you happy? But you can't scale that, right? Like one person can't continue to do it. And so a great idea to put a bit of tech behind it, put the resources behind it, and make that scalable across the organization. So I guess just walking through how it works, Sandy, do you want to kind of take us through kind of the basics of the setup and way that would go working with Career Money Live?
Yeah. Look, we've made it really simple. So if a client wanted to set up the candidate care offering, we would create a unique URL. You'd have your own custom co-branded landing page. It would include links to your careers page, your LinkedIn company page, and so it's taking them back to your brand experience. And you can choose where in your LiveHire ATS system you want to embed those links and have specific messaging. So it might be that, you know, every candidate at the point of application gets that link, and they can go on, log in, set up their own account and access the tools, or you can be more targeted, as we spoke about, in terms of the different use cases. So it's really simple to set up. You just make some edits to your message templates within LiveHire, which Andy and the team would be very happy to help facilitate, and off you go. Within the system, then you'll be able to see the usage, the candidate's experience, and what they're engaging in in terms of content. And then we have automated feedback surveys. So when people log in, they're prompted at login to respond, and can select which stage they're at. So if you are offering it sort of throughout the whole experience, people can choose if they're at application or at interview, and then they get a custom set of questions to respond to. And so you can then track that feedback over time through your experience on the platform.
Fantastic. Very good. And I think we're going to switch pretty soon to actually showing the platform off and bring it up. But just to give everyone a bit of an overview as to what's included, and Sandy's kind of spoken to quite a bit of this, but some, you know, I've played around with it myself. In fact, I use Career Money Live for my own EAP services, and the portal is quite intuitive, really easy, and straightforward, but some really great little tools around helping to map out what my career pathway might be, and then suggesting little opportunities to make improvements or take on different challenges, as well as linking up to different coaches or guides. One that really stands out to me, Sandy, the career ID assessment. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so the career ID assessment tool is something that you know, candidates can choose to undertake, and it's a really comprehensive assessment tool that looks at a whole suite of different elements in one instrument, which is really great because it's only a 15-minute instrument to complete. But it looks at your values, it looks at your behavioral strengths and development areas, it looks at your culture fit, it looks at career pathways and potential occupations that might suit you, and it looks at personality traits, all within one instrument. And that's something if people are really reflecting on, maybe I need to change careers, maybe I want to do something different, you know, they can access that tool and engage in a debriefing with a qualified coach to really help them figure out kind of what's important to me. And the one I always find really interesting in that is the values piece, because often people know their values, but they don't know them to articulate them. And when you actually see, you know, where your values are and you know, in quite granular level, it does really help people from a careers point of view, because that's where the issues are. If there's a value disconnect between who I am and what the organization does, that's often where all the troubles start. And so it's really helpful for people to be able to, you know, have the opportunity to reflect on some of those things when they're thinking about career change.
Yeah, and the early conversations that I've had with clients is that they, you know, this is something that's helping in terms of people getting through interviews better, you know, coming better prepared to interviews, to talk to values and have that way to articulate it, and of course, like improving the fit of people to the organisation, so you're not having that attrition where it just wasn't the right person, again because values weren't quite aligned. So super interesting stuff. Sandy, I might stop sharing. I think, last one, maybe I've got one more. Sorry, lost track of slides. In terms of just some use cases, maybe talk through this one too.
Yeah, look, I've probably covered this already in terms of, the different use cases. So, these are just some examples of how people are using it, but it's super flexible. So, if an organization is looking to target particularly with a community, it may be that they even want to offer that as part of their corporate social responsibility piece to youth unemployed, or to particular communities that are maybe going through difficult times if they're looking at restructures and whatnot in a sector. So there's lots of different ways that you can target and make the program and the package of services available to different people. So that's the beauty. It doesn't have to be one size fits all. It can really suit your needs, and you can change that. You can be as flexible as you want in terms of when and how you offer it to different groups within the talent pool.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm going to stop sharing and pass it back to you then to show the platform. I think it's the logical next piece.
All right, so hopefully you're now seeing my platform.
Yep.
Excellent. So this is a demo example of the career candidate care platform, and this real estate is really where your company brand would feature. So it would have an image and a message, and these would be the links that would go back to your company's about page, your careers page, in terms of, so if people had been unsuccessful and they got this message and they logged in, there's a link there so they can go back and reflect on new job opportunities that you might have, and they might want to reapply somewhere else. And there's also the feedback button in the live session. When people log in, the feedback is automatically triggered to pop up on their screen, but in the demo, they would go to the leave feedback button here. At any time they could add this in, but as I said, they'd also be prompted, and then they would choose which stage they're at. So I progress to interview, and then it'll pop up a set of questions that I can respond to, and then over time you'll be able to track and manage that data at an aggregate level and understand trends and behaviors, and also benchmark against other organizations to understand that data, because we do know that a lot of candidates, even if you have an internal tool to capture feedback, there's not really an incentive for them to be very honest with you about your candidate experience, because they're probably hedging their bets that they might want to work for you again. So it's an independent way to get more kind of honest feedback about that experience. Once the candidate comes in here, they're able to start a number of different ways. So we have a little progress bar here, and this is really like a step-by-step guide to where do I begin? What should I do? So there's an ebook which they can start with, which is really anchors the whole program and tells them everything that's available and walks them through step by step. And I can click on that and view that. And that ebook really reflects on the whole experience of what's included, and is built around all the different things that are available. So the on-demand, the ebooks, the recruitment tools, the goal setting tool, resume builder. So all of these things are available. And this is a way for them to just jump right into whatever's of interest to them in terms of they want to watch some of the on-demand, or they want to link to some of the tools. So it's kind of an easy guide to get started and just jump right into whatever's relevant. But equally, we have what we call the Future Fit, which is a career resilience framework. And this really helps people think about themselves and the world as the first step under the explore step. And so in each of these steps, if people are thinking more about, I really want to do some deep work and thinking about myself and my goals and what matters to me, they can work through this process. And in each of these, we have content that they can read, tools they can link to, resources, they can track their own notes. And it takes them through, as I said, these 5 steps of explore, position, build, which is really building all their assets like their resumes and their personal brand statement and their LinkedIn profile. And then how do they launch in the market? And again, that takes them through, thinking about how do they apply for roles? How do they use their networking strategies? and all the activities and the links in here. So it really reflects that different people are going to want to use this in different ways. Some people are going to jump in and say, I just need some help. I've got an interview on Monday and I need some help with interviewing. And other people are going to be saying, gosh, what do I want to do when I grow up? Who am I? Where am I going? And so it really reflects that different way. The other thing is people may say, I really just want to book into some sessions. And so part of the offering is we run weekly live sessions, and the candidates can book into these as frequently as they like. We've got a resume builder session. We offer an interview ready session where we use the STAR methodology and help them prepare for interviews. We run a session on networking success, 2 sessions on LinkedIn, a more basic one in terms of building. And then the second one's really, a more advanced session for using all the features of LinkedIn in your job search capacity. And then we run an open weekly candidate coaching session. So if somebody's got an interview coming up, or someone's just received feedback saying, gosh, I was that silver medalist and I just missed out, and I need to unpack kind of what the feedback was, and really just need someone to help me figure out what I've done wrong, they can jump onto those weekly coaching sessions anytime and book in. And it's really simple from the platform. Everything's at their fingertips, so they can simply go and look at the details of the session. They're all run on Zoom. If I add this service to my cart, it'll give me the dates of all the next sessions, and I can just book the one I want to go to, add to cart, and I get the Zoom link. So it's super easy for people to book into any of these sessions, and they're all run by very experienced 25-year career coaches that working with the candidates to help them.
One thing, Sandy, just from my own experience using your platform, one thing I've been really impressed with is the up-to-dateness. How you're always updating the content within the solution, and even one thing I just saw popped up was how to use ChatGPT to better put yourself forward, and so I think that's AI and job search, exactly. The content is always up to date. It's always evolving. It's always new, and that's been really valuable for me personally as I'm using some of these tools in my own. In my case, I use it for internal purposes, but the same concept around upskilling and cross-skilling in my career journey.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we've just finished this this AI for job search, and it's we really actually had quite a lot of fun building this, because it is quite remarkable what AI can do for job seekers now. And and some of the recruiters may have different views on it, but things like putting in the URL for a job and then putting in your draft resume and asking it to do a comparison of keywords. So it can really help people then go, so have I got the right keywords in my resume that's actually going to help me get this job? Or say, what are the interview questions that I should be preparing for this kind of interview, for this kind of role? And so what we built is a whole set based on that whole future fit framework that we have, introducing them to the idea of what it is, and then the prompts. So providing them with really specific prompts around how you do things, and so helping people think about even if they have performance review documents that they've used, or they've done any sort of Myers-Briggs profile, again, you can put that into ChatGPT and then say, how would this person go in this kind of a role? And it's phenomenally how accurate some of the content is. Obviously, there are cautions that you need to be aware of. So there's a lot of tools in here to help people through each step of their job search to make some of those things easier. And again, when you think about people that don't speak English as a first language, people that have, dyslexia or other language barriers, those can be really big obstacles for them getting their resume right, or being able to articulate clearly their value proposition. And so these tools really level the playing field for some of those people. So Yeah, so absolutely. There's a whole lot of content in each of these ebooks that people can navigate through. There's a whole set of templates in here. So templates for requesting a networking meeting, a follow-up template after you've had an interview with someone. And again, for some people like us that have been in the industry a long time, that sort of seems simple, but for people that haven't looked for a job in a long time or aren't clear, these things are quite difficult for them. We've also got video content. So these are little on-demand videos on how to create a powerful exit statement. So, we know that's really important if people are leaving, particularly through a redundancy, how to position that, because in an interview, they're going to get asked, why did you leave? And I can give you a quick example of the video, but that's something that people don't think about, or they go in and start whinging about their previous employer and saying it was unfair how they got made redundant or something. And it's like, no, that's not what you do in an interview. So just to give you a little example.
Create a powerful exit statement. For every ending, there's a new beginning. Some endings will be your decision, others out of your control. Some endings are joyful, exciting, and a relief. Other endings can be stressful, confusing, hurtful, and sad. When you leave a job, one of the questions you'll be asked is why you left. You'll be asked, why did you leave? By friends, family, recruiters, colleagues, network contacts, and hiring managers. People are curious creatures, and by asking, why did you leave, they're interested in understanding your turning point and want to be reassured that you're okay. This is a powerful opportunity for you to manage your messaging. We call this your exit statement. Your exit statement is a two-step dance. First, give them the fact. Second, put a positive spin on it.
Gives you a bit of a feel for the videos, and we continue to add new videos all the time covering some of those key points. So it's, again, recognizing different people will want to engage differently with the content. So it's either through the live sessions, it's self exploration through the ebooks, or engaging in the on-demand. We also have on-demand versions of our live session. So if people aren't comfortable maybe attending the Resume Builder live session, they can watch a recording of that as well. Helping people with things, as I said, like the storytelling. There's also within the platform a whole set of tools to help people with their actual job search and managing their job search. And we know this can be something that when people start looking for jobs and they're applying for multiple roles in lots of different places, and then they can't keep track of who I spoke to and which recruiter belongs to which job. So the track and manage tools are available for them. And each time they get a new opportunity or speak to someone about a role, they can add a job opportunity here, and then they can keep track of them. So these are some examples. I'm interested, I've been shortlisted, I've submitted a resume, I've got the offer. And so within each of these, I can keep track of all the details of that opportunity. So when the date is, I can send a reminder, I can put the recruitment information in here. Comments from my meetings or networking conversations I've had. I can add if I want to do some research, add in the LinkedIn URL and the Glassdoor URL if I like. So all those details, and then I can add and manage all my action steps. So I can keep track of what do I need to do next and what date do I need to do that on. So this is really like your work tools of your job search, because often when people leave their work behind, they sometimes leave those work tools behind, and they don't have the right kind of tools to help them with their job search. So that's all available for them through the My Job Search. As well, we have a resume building tool, and that takes people through step by step to build their resume. So if they don't have a resume, they may have applied without a resume or may not have a very good resume. So they can keep track of all their different resume templates. They're all applicant tracking consistent compliant in terms of the format. And if I would want to go in and create a new resume, They can do this in conjunction with having watched the resume builder video and also the live session, but this takes them through literally step by step. So they give it a name. They can put a reference if they're using it to customize for a particular job URL. And then they go through each of these steps, the career title, the highlights, the skills. And as I kind of click on each of these, it will bring up, sorry, a bit of a delay there. So I got how-to tips to write the key skills section. And then I get a number of examples to demonstrate how I should be writing those. And then I can add my skills in here and then just say, so literally as each step of the resume, there's examples, multiple examples of how to write those sessions. And at the end, I can choose from a range of different templates, and then they're all saved in the system. So it takes all that complexity out of resume writing, and again, they can do those in conjunction with a live session if they need that support. But it also means that all their resumes are also connected with the job searches if they're using the job search tools to manage their job search, and it's all in one place, which is another thing that we find. People find stuff ends up all over the place when they're doing that. They can also create a profile on here and get matched to other job opportunities, and they can set up some job searches with things like Indeed and Jora Jobs, where if they want to get some jobs sent to them, they can just do that without having to go to all those sites independently and add those in. And then there's tips and tricks. So that's all available for people within the platform.
Thanks, Sandy. Questions come up that I think is well worth asking at this point. From an employer point of view, what sort of information, data, how do they access the platform, and what involvement does an employer have?
So really the level of involvement is up to the employer. They will have their own login access, and they'll be able to see usage statistics. So the levels of engagement in terms of logins, what people are using, and then all the feedback questionnaires at an aggregate level, not obviously the individual responses. So they'll be able to view all that data and look at the level of engagement on the platform.
Fantastic. Probably worth noting that this LiveHire Candidate Care program in partnership with Career Money Life is just one of the many things that Sandy and her team offer as well. We at LiveHire use Sandy's services for employee assistance program, and so obviously the level of access and things that I'm accessing are very different to the Candidate Care program when I'm using it as an internal employee. So it's more around kind of employee assistance and connecting with psychiatrists and all that kind of thing, career coaches, etc. Whereas this candidate care program is very much designed around the candidates, right? The people that are applying for jobs that are maybe not quite suitable. So we really designed this particular program around that idea of giving that little bit back to the candidates and giving them the tools they need to be more successful, either with you, with someone else, but eventually we know that the nature of a talent community is those people will come back in the future as well.
Exactly. We also have curated a whole suite of free tools and resources, and we've just highlighted some of them here, but they can go to the full list. So there's resources there. For instance, if people are looking to do research, company research as part of that, things like going, the ASX has great data, and IBIS and different things that people can access through the libraries or online, but people might not know this, right? So it's a great way to just pull that content together. So it's really kind of being the one-stop shop for everything to do with helping people find a job from the beginning to the end. And we also have the option, if they want to access a very low cost resume writing service. So if people need that, it's $100. And again, it's really trying to protect people from the Google searches of, you know, everybody who wakes up one day and decides to be a professional resume writer and gouges people. And, you know, everyone who works through our platform is vetted, they're qualified, they're experienced, there's reviews. So it's a safe space if people do feel that they need extra support and they choose to purchase that themselves in terms of some coaching or those other services. But you can see the platform is not really about, you know, actively pushing or promoting any of that. It's really just there if people want it to access. And there's also a whole life goal setting tool piece here, which built around the concept of the wheel of life. And here's one I've prepared earlier. This person's not terribly happy with their career. So it takes them through a series of questions on each element of their life, rating satisfaction and importance. And this can be really helpful when people are at a transition or a crossroad. And then it gives them this sort of matrix. So areas where I said we're important and I'm less satisfied, and in this case, there's quite a few, I can go and set goals against that. And if I sort of move into each one of those areas, it gives me the opportunity to do some self-reflection, sort of a self-coaching type model. So what do I love about work? What would I like to change? If they've done the career ID report, they can bring those elements in as well. What are things I want to think about? And then there's examples here where I can create goals that I can set, manage and track, you know, and you can be as detailed or as kind of light touch as you'd like. But we do know, and we do have a whole video on goal setting. We do know that goal setting, even if they're, you know, modest, small goals, really helps people from a psychological perspective to move forward and to feel a sense of momentum and achievement. So it's important in career change and when you're looking for work to have that sort of mindset about creating and setting some goals and being able to tick boxes and say, I got that done, even if they're sort of micro goals or action points. So that's all built in for them as well. So yeah, there's quite a lot. And as you said, we're constantly adding new materials, updating new resources as LinkedIn, you know, continues to change and offer new features and capabilities. We're constantly updating to make sure people have access to all the latest and greatest.
Fantastic. A couple of questions, Sandy, that have come through that I'll ask on behalf of some of these people. So Jane has asked, is the platform or dashboard mobile or user-friendly kind of, you know, does it work on mobile phones?
It does, yeah. So the platform is all built what they call responsive. So it's not a separate app, but it knows what device you're working from, and it the screen it accommodates to the device you're on.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And then a second question: could it be tailored to suit entry-level cohorts? I'll break this up into two things. So, could you tailor the platform in any way to suit certain cohorts?
Yes, absolutely. So in our career transition programs, what we have is something called pathways. And our next step with candidate care is to build out different pathways. So in that case, it might just be a pathway of I just need support with interviewing, or it might be I've never had a job before. What do I need to apply for my first job? Or you know, we can work with a company, and what that does in terms of when you select a pathway, the services that you see, the ebooks that would show, the progress bar and the steps in that progress bar, the resources, the articles, everything is curated around that pathway. So if it was the example of just interviewing, it would just show everything about interviewing and nothing else. So it can be sort of tailored to a specific use case like that for individuals that is already in the platform. It's just doing the configuration. So I'd love to, yeah, if people have thoughts on that, because that's something we're working on now, thinking about what those pathways would look like from a candidate perspective.
Right, thank you. Any other questions? Now's probably a great time to segue into that. And as we wait for those to come through, maybe I'll ask Karen, do we have the results from the original survey question?
Yes, we do. 44% of people said yes, they track candidate satisfaction, and 56% said no.
Okay.
So that's interesting. I have a couple of more T-shirts to give away. So if anyone is keen on a T-shirt, drop us something in the question and answer box that says, yes, I'm interested in a T-shirt. Otherwise, any questions, any final questions before we head off and give you some more time back into your very busy day?
The only other case I would say that we haven't really talked about, you touched on at the beginning, Andy, is in terms of internal mobility as well. So often we find that internal candidates are at a disadvantage to external candidates because they don't necessarily prepare sometimes as well for interviews. So if part of your strategy is internal mobility, again, you know, being able to offer your internal candidates access to some tools and support to help them ensure they're fully prepared for interviews, and you know, can put their best foot forward, can be another use case and can be really beneficial in terms of you know, ensuring that you are actually giving those opportunities to the internal candidates, and that has obviously benefits to the individual, but more often more external benefits from a cost point of view, but also from a cultural point of view and a messaging about career development, which we know is one of the key drivers of loyalty and you know, employee satisfaction. So another piece to think about.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. Well, I think that's it. We don't seem to have any more questions. Andy, did you have any closing comments, thoughts?
Only that I'm a big fan of the platform. Like I say, use it myself. We're getting early feedback from clients that there's a great benefits that the early adopters are getting. So we'd love to see it rolled out to more of our clients and seeing some great benefits around better candidates, better prepared candidates. And you know, it's always nice to give back.
Yeah, definitely. So don't forget, everyone, if you'd like some more information in terms of features, function, what the platform does, pricing, it's really quite affordable. Just tick the box on that exit survey on your way out, and I'll get someone to contact you with an answer to your question or to give you the information you're after. So thanks very much, everyone, for your time today. Thank you, Sandy, for sharing your expertise with us. And thank you, Andy. Also, hope you're having a happy birthday. And we'll see you all online at our next webinar on the 21st of September. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.